Hello, I'm Sharon.
And I'm Wendy.
Welcome to Brown Space. This is a safe space where we talk about the hard topic of racism.
And build empathy through the healing power of conversation.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I just wanted to add
You're
one more
first,
thing regarding the microaggressions because I think we've all experienced them at some point. But I also believe that microaggressions are rooted in our own biases, right? Our biases that we may have blind spots towards, and it can create a passive aggressive response, intentionally or unintentionally. But I think there's a construct of thinking that when microaggressions happen, there are biases that lead your ways of thinking to think that this person did or didn't do this thing, right? So almost thinking about it from a place of biases leading dialogue where there's a lot of blind spots, right? We hear this saying so much. You can't judge a book, by its cover, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think that being mindful and being aware that there's a constant bias that I'm working through, and I will add this too, that microaggressions also, it's not only with race, it happens with classism, sexism as well. And so just being mindful that your biases are sometimes incorrect, right? That the information that you may have or an assumption that you make about someone does not define who they are.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's really good.
I think sometimes too, the damage, part of that injury or damage, and I believe Semikah already alluded to that, is that after you have experienced so much of it, you begin to think that that is so. And you do, as she put it, start to fall back or negate what your potential or abilities are because it comes at you all the time sometimes. And if you are not careful and well grounded in who you are as a human being, you become accepting of whether it's directly or indirectly being brought to you, these negative assumptions or biases.
Which then, if you were in that situation and you went to a therapist, they might say, oh, you're depressed, instead of realizing that what it is millions of little injuries that have caused you to think about yourself in a way that is self-negating, unworthy. Oh, yeah. I know, as we were talking about microaggressions and Semikah, you were talking about the 3 different types, which now I can't quote you. Say what they were again. Insult.
Like, don't quote me directly. I'll put the resource. We'll put the link in there.
Yes. But there was insult, injury, and something else.
Micro insult, micro assault, and micro invalidation.
Invalidation. So I know I've experienced a lot of those throughout my life based on gender biases. So as you were talking, I went, oh, I actually do understand what this is about. But again, I think women and the LGBT, sorry, loud motorcycle, the LGBTQ plus community and just like all types of communities, whatever your ethnic background, which, oh gosh, sorry, my mind is going too fast. My mouth can't keep up. I think once we sit back and we reflect on these things, we start to realize, wait, I do know what microaggression is. I have experienced that. I remember how terrible that feels. I remember carrying that around with me, and I know I have fought through this issue. So wait, you mean there's like more that other people are experiencing that I don't experience? Okay, time to step back and learn that. So I find this very, very enlightening, very helpful. And I can speak to the whole bias situation. I did not even know some of the biases I had from my childhood, being raised in Richmond, Virginia, which was perhaps still is. I haven't been there in a while. Very segregated and very too many assumptions made. Let's just say that. And I had no idea that they were still in the back of the filing cabinet here until Sharon and I started talking more and more. And I went, oh my gosh, time to, shred those old files and replace them with some actual information.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And to add to just the piece about biases, we all have them. And I think that a lifelong willingness of being open to understanding what your biases are, and then maybe challenging those thought processes when you get information that is different than what your bias was. A freelance videographer, his name is Peter Santinello. And he has a whole video community where he basically captures the world that most people don't see, right? So my husband actually introduced me to his channel, and I mean, he goes across all cultures, different communities, and he will form like new authentic interactions with people from these communities. And there was this one episode that was so interesting. He was at this 5-star hotel in Miami on the beach, and there was a Haitian American. He was like the bellhop there. And he started just communicating with him, and he said, "Hey, like I want to know more about like where you come from, your culture, all parts of Miami, right? Here I am over on this cabana on the beach, and you're telling me like there's another whole side of Miami. Can you take me there?" And so super interesting. He goes in his car. They ride around all of these neighborhoods of Miami that he never knew existed. And he was on a quest for learning and connecting with people that did not look like him. And from a place of humility too, right? Like he really wanted to understand. He went to this Haitian restaurant. He ate the Haitian food. He went to the worst of the neighborhoods. He spoke to people on the street corners, and he formed new alliances with them. And, I think that we should all have our ongoing journey like that, where we are open and willing to, as my mom said, stretch across the aisle, learning things and going places and meeting people that you had not met, or things that you haven't learned before.
Absolutely.
I love the idea that it's a lifelong journey to get to know our own
Absolutely.
biases and overcome them. Yeah, and stretch across the aisle. I love these images. I also really love, and it's so ingrained in our vernacular to talk about race, but Sharon, that episode with Kalia, right, is when we really went, wait a minute, there's only one race. There's only one race. So we talk about racism, but even the term is misused. And what racism really is the attempt to create another race when there's really only one. Would you agree with that?
That there's one race?
That there's one race. We just have different skin colors.
Our blood is all the same color.
And our blood is the same. Our organs, everything.
I think there's been, a good amount of evidence how we have all,
Yeah.
and ventured. Our journeys have led us to different spaces, right?
Yeah.
But the creation of the separations, of the classes, of the whatever you want to call it, has given space for racism to exist. So even during that segment, when you all mentioned bootstraps, and depending on which laces or which bootstraps you're trying to pull up from, can give you a level up, or it can give you, it may pump you up a couple of more steps.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if we get back down to the basics, we're all one.
Which is why racism is a bias in itself, right? I mean, so it all, for me anyway, that's where I'm like, okay, if I really want to look at and be honest about the biases, when I look through the lens of, wait, we're all one race, you're my sisters, then this becomes this in my mind, in my thinking, in my heart. And then it's less scary to reach across the aisle. That if I think of you as a different race because we look differently, now it's us and them again, instead of all of us together. So I don't know. I mean, it's not that I'm trying to shove the uniqueness and the variety under the rug. That's not what I'm trying to do. We're not homogenous, but we all come from the same place. That helps me because I don't understand a lot about other people's culture, even in my own country, and Sharon, you mentioned the hair questions, but there's my perspective, and maybe this is ignorant, is that there's a culture among women of color regarding having a really fun time with your hair that most white people we're only just now starting to have fun with. And so actually I do have a lot of friends who I'm like, wait a minute, are you wearing something new here, in your hair? And it's fun. But maybe it's not a fun aspect, but I'm interpreting it as fun. I have no idea. So see, that's a reach across the aisle topic.
and again, it goes back to conversation, understanding, and relationship, right? Yeah. So if you and I are not in conversation and we are not building or cultivating a relationship, did you earn the right to ask me that question? Right?
Got you. Yes.
Okay.
Good.
So
yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Yep.
I mean, we talk about hair and what I'm going to do with it next and all of that all the time. And what are you going to do with yours? Because we have cultivated an authentic relationship based on us reaching across the aisle and having real conversations.
Yes.
And that's where it begins. Right. Yeah. And so then that comfortability, as you're looking through the lenses, you're saying, you go, okay, we're one. What are you doing actively to make that so in your thoughts, in the way you talk to people and engage with people who are other than you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Woo!
Wendy, let me be transparent in this moment. Just bringing that up, like my heart.
Talk louder.
I said, just being transparent, like in that moment, my heart started beating. Like, well, talking about hair. when we stretch and being aware of our own stuff, our own biases, that's a touchy subject for me personally, because I think it has different roots, right? Different reaches. Let me refer to Semikah, because I don't know other people's experiences, but when you are fed what beauty looks like, and where beauty comes from and what is celebrated, and it looks other than how you are naturally made, there's some bit of conflict there.
Yeah.
So, fun time with hair, I don't know so much, right? Some people, they do, it's fun to them. Hair is stressful for me, honestly. And so sometimes I choose not to deal with it, because there was a point in which that was taking so much of my attention. It was causing me stress. It was causing me to lose time with my family. But for so many years, women, they have hair, and your hair is this, and you got to do your hair. And quite frankly, my hair doesn't fall the way yours does. Like a wash and go, yeah, okay. Depends on where I'm going.
Right.
So my decision, you know what, I'm going to eliminate that stress for myself. One year I shaved it all off, right? So that was a big, bold move for me. But you know what it did? It communicated to other people that there was something wrong with me. Like I got calls like, am I sick? I was in a space and one lady came and paid for my meal and gave me a pink gem because she thought I was a cancer survivor.
Wow.
And I say, I mean, I appreciate the thought, but I'm sorry, but I'm not a cancer survivor. I did not battle cancer. This was a decision. So there's more to it.
There is absolutely so much more to it. And I had that same thing happen to me, because I am so versatile now and having fun with all of this that I do. And, I've shaved it off. And when I did that, I had, and this was a woman of color. She came to me and she said, she kept doing that for a few Sundays in a row. And then one Sunday she came in, she was all clean. And she said, you inspired me. And for a long time, I thought it's that you were sick. But I realized that you're just so confident in who you are, that your hair or not hair is not what defines who you are. And so I'm inspired. And she did. She cut her hair off. So I can be whatever, and my family, my children, they know that I can be whatever because I am not this. Yeah. But people do put so much emphasis on that.
They do.
And then that whole imagery that's out there about what is beautiful and what isn't. That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other brown space conversation.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
I just have to say, though, I look at every single one of you and you all look unique and absolutely gorgeous to me. So whatever that standard is, I mean, honestly, I've never felt that I looked like the standard either. I'm not sure what percentage of society actually feels that they look like the standard. It might be 0. But I just want to put that out there. Beautiful ladies.
Thank you, Wendy.
Wendy, when you made this gesture of like coming together, when the hands clasped, it also to me sent a signal of within that space can be more compassion and understanding. So as Shaana said, learning, growing, and meeting people. Because as you said earlier, like we are all unique. We could exist in the same family and every single person be totally different, but we're still a family. So there's an opportunity for that. But with this, I think comes that compassion, comes the empathy, comes the understanding, comes the willingness to learn more about one another. And with that, we can support each other, right?
And a growing trust.
Yeah.
Cultivating trust.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you, Wendy, for just your words of our beauty and appreciation. You hear the term a lot about cultural appropriation, right? But there's also cultural appreciation. And I think part of the work and stretching across the aisle is taking those moments to acknowledge and appreciate the things in other cultures, and giving patronage to that, right? Like, just as you did, like, wow, I think you're also beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much healing in that. And I think that the more that culturally we acknowledge each other and we see the unique intrinsic traits that we each have as a positive thing, we could go such a long way as a human race.
And case in point is this conversation. I'm getting to know you, Shaana, and you, Semikah. I've never met you until we started this morning. And I see your hearts more now that we've had this conversation. You know, so I kind of see into your soul just a teeny little bit more than an hour ago. And you're even more beautiful because of that. So that's really what the aisle is, isn't it? It's that's what we're reaching across, is the fact that we just don't know each other yet. But we can.
Right.
We can.
The willingness, like if you reach, I'm not going to turn my back, right?
We'll reach back. Yes.
We will reach across the aisle.
Yes. I think this is what we'll call this episode. Ooh. Reaching across the aisle. Just great nuggets on mental health and how that plays a part, or the psychological effects of racism on so many levels, and how that really does play a part in our mental well-being, or not. So I want to say thank you, Shaana, for taking time, and thank you, Semikah, because you two ladies are smoking in the field of mental health. And I know you're busy. So I am grateful that you took the time to come and just have a chat with us, and hope that you will come back, because there's so much more to unpack. And just want to extend that invitation to you to come again.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Absolutely.
Space. Sorry, Shaana, I didn't mean to cut you. But giving space to this topic, you know, and allowing us an opportunity. And it's not often that you can sit on the other side, like you can step outside of the therapeutic space and kind of talk about therapy and mental health, and just like at a larger scale and the other nuances of it. So I appreciate you two for introducing this space, for creating this space, and for extending the invitation, because it is through the invitation that we will begin to kind of open up, learn more about ourselves, and in turn learn more about others. So thank you both.
Beautiful.
I want to say thank you so much, as Semikah was saying, for creating this space, but for also holding the space too. You are holding the space for these really important conversations that are necessary. And so thank you for, again, just making room for mental health and the impacts of this overarching topic, and having us on today. So thank you so much.
I love you all so much.
Until next time.
Bye, you guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
You've been watching Brown Space with Sharon and Wendy.
It's been so great talking and sharing here today. We look forward to your comments below, or you can email us at brownspace2020@gmail.com.
Remember, you are the light that gives light to the world.